Welcome to today's Coffee Talk with Mark Brading, Senior Partner of Transformation Services at Resource Pro. I'm really excited to be here today with our very special guest, as well as our first time ACN Coffee Talk guest, Mark. Welcome, Mark.
Glad to be here, Brian.
Thank you. So Mark is well known for his perspectives on the future of the insurance industry, as well as innovative uses of technology in insurance. His specialty areas include distribution strategies, insurtech, and innovation. In Mark's role, he leads the consulting, research, and advisory service areas for Resource Pro, which is serving clients across the P&C ecosystem. Mark's has consistently been named as one of the top 50 global influencers in insurtech, as well as by Insurtech News. He is currently serving as a mentor with Insurtech Israel, and has recently been named by Consulting Magazine as Mentor of the Year. If you're joining us for the first time, our ACN Coffee Talk series is a monthly session where we give our members a chance to meet applied executives as well as other industry professionals and ask them questions, all in a casual 30-minute format. Before we get into some of the questions, I thought, Mark, it'd be great to have our listeners get to know you a little bit more. So if you're up for it, if you don't mind playing along a little bit. So I've got a question, maybe around the insurance industry. I'm sure with your vast experience, what's the most interesting experience you've had in the insurance industry?
Great question. I have been privileged to meet with lots of insurance entities around the world. I've had global roles, and so been to many, many countries meeting with insurers. So I would say one very interesting experience I had is the first time I went to South Africa and was doing a tour, meeting a number of different insurance carriers there. And the first one I went to, I had to go through the whole security system, right? With just like going through the airport, right? Doing the scans and everything just to come into the building, just because of the nature of the environment there. So that was a little different. And on the other side of the spectrum, I also used to run global insurance events for IBM. And so we had some pretty world-class events in places like Rome and Monaco and Barcelona. So I got a chance to meet with a lot of folks from across the P&C ecosystem in beautiful settings as well. So.
Excellent. Definitely sounds exciting. So I know you do spend a lot of time working and a lot of time in the insurance industry, but what do you like to do outside work?
Well, recently, just a couple of years ago, I have taken up doing races with my daughters. My daughters got me into this because one of my daughters, who's in the industry, she works for an insurtech, but she does marathons and 30-mile races. She's just getting ready to go to a 100-mile race in Europe. So they've gotten me into the race culture, let's say. And so I've only worked up to a quarter marathon, 6.5 miles, but trying to move towards a half marathon. And by the way, I'm not winning any medals for times. I'm just trying to finish. I'm just trying to do it and do it with my daughter. So that's my time outside of insurance.
Okay, sounds exciting. I gotta tell you, Mark, like hearing a 100-mile race just really does scare me. So, but good job. I hope you're able to continue with that. Well, thanks for playing along. I know we've got today really exciting set of topics, and excited to have you kind of share your perspective. And I'd like to really kind of start to kind of dig deep into today's topic, really around the advancement of technology and how it's shaping the world around us. There's been so many significant implications around risk for individuals and businesses of all types. And certainly with so many new technologies emerging, AI, the Internet of Things, autonomous vehicles, and so much more. So really excited to kind of hear about trends and from your experience. So I thought we could maybe start with some of those big trends at kind of a macro level. What are the big themes in the transformation of the P&C insurance industry?
Yeah, good question. So I think there's 6 big themes, and I'll go through these quickly, right? But first of all, the industry is rebounding. right? We had some tough times, 2022, 2023 for a variety of reasons, but 2024 is looking stronger. The insurance industry is so resilient, always adapts, and is profitable again. Secondly, in spite of that, we do have headwinds in personal lines, right? We've got consumer challenges. We still are, dealing with inflation and costs, market access for individuals. So that's a little bit of a challenge. On the commercial line side, the big theme is specialization, right? We're just moving towards more and more specialization across all segments. And you see that driving kind of M&A or MGA growth, and the whole E&S market, right, is where a lot of the growth is happening. Fourth theme is around optimization, right? What we're seeing across the whole ecosystem is 2024 is a year when folks are saying we're really doubling down on optimization, on improving our business internally. The next one is around M&A. And there's been a pause. There was a pause for a while there just because of the capital markets in terms of acquisitions in the distribution space, in the tech space, in the carrier space. But we're expecting that to pick up, and we've actually seen a lot of evidence of that even in the last month. And then the last one is what I call AI versus legacy, right? So all the talk is about AI. All the action really is around legacy, right? I can't tell you how many agencies I've talked to that have said, well, we're doing this conversion to Epic, and once we finish that, we'll start thinking about AI and what we do with AI. So, and that kind of is across the ecosystem. We see a lot of that. We're still burdened by legacy systems that have to deal with that as well.
Great. No, thanks for sharing those six items. Let me ask you, out of all the technology developments, which areas have the most implications, do you feel, for the insurance industry?
Well, I'm one that for a long, long time has been predicting the future of the industry, and going around research labs, looking at new technologies, and thinking about what does it really mean for insurance. So every type of technology that's out there, I've been following for a long time, but it's no surprise here. It's AI. It's the whole family of AI, especially generative AI. And there's several reasons I think that this is the most impactful. One is that there are implications across the whole P&C ecosystem, whether you're a retailer or an MGA or a wholesaler, carrier, and every part of the value chain. We see implications for all parts of the business, and there's a lot of activity there. And it gives us the potential to take automation to the next level, and then beyond that, augment human decisioning. And of course, importantly, there's a lot of implications for the workforce. And what we're doing in our research, we're spending a lot of time thinking about not job replacement, because I don't think that's the issue. I don't think we're going to see wholesale job replacement from AI or automation. It's really about elevating roles. And so we're spending a lot of time thinking about, what's the future role of the CSR, of the producer, of the account manager, right? And how are they going to be interacting with technology? And a lot of that is around AI and how that's going to enable them to do more.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'd like to kind of dig into some additional kind of topic areas, and we'll get back to some more around AI. But if we started with mobility, I know there are many tech-driven changes occurring that's affecting vehicles, autonomous vehicles as an example, and transportation in general, electric vehicles, telematics, etc. I think it'd be interesting for you to kind of share a little bit about how agents can think about these, and what are some realistic timelines, do you think, and time frames for some of this change? Like, what can these agencies and brokerages kind of expect over the next, short term, midterm, longer term?
Yeah, mobility is an interesting space because that whole landscape is changing in a lot of ways, right? With the sharing economy, with EVs, with autonomous vehicles, with new forms of transportation. But it's going to be a long evolution. We're going to see a mix of vehicles and forms of transportation on the road for quite some time. If you go back maybe 4 or 5 years, we all know that there were these predictions that we're going to engineer away risk. In 5 years or in 10 years, everything's going to be autonomous and there's not going to be any accidents, or we're going to reduce accidents by 9%. And that was nonsense, right? We know that that's not true. It's a complex environment, right? So I guess as an agent, the way I would think of it is, you've got to follow all of these trends and think about the implications for risk and for customers. But it's not going to change overnight, right? Work with your carrier partners, and as they evolve products and coverages, and it has implications on how it's priced. Of course, you're going to work closely with them, but there's nothing that's going to happen overnight where it's, oh my gosh, we're not selling auto insurance anymore. We're not selling commercial fleet anymore because we don't need insurance. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, great. There are a couple questions that have come in, and if you're okay, I'd like to talk through some of those, and we'll bounce around a little bit.
Sure.
The first is kind of a follow-up to your statement around AI, of looking at AI technology as more of augmenting agencies and brokerages. But the question that specifically came in said, what will happen to insurance agents when AI is implemented? Could you just talk a little bit about that from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been talking to a lot of agencies, and we've been kind of getting a sense of where are folks in terms of thinking about AI? What kinds of use cases are there out there? Where do they think the potential is? And how do they think it's going to affect, as I said, the roles? And so the way we think about it is we've kind of looked at 4 different areas in an agency. We've looked at, kind of the marketing area, right? Leads, gathering prospect information, all in, communicate marketing campaigns, marketing, sales, servicing, and then operations. And we've kind of cataloged a pretty long list of use cases where AI is going to be an enabler, right? And so the easiest way to answer this is a lot of the mundane tasks that, producers, CSRs, others in the office don't want to do, they're going to be automated, right? And AI is going to have a big role that it's already happening, right? We're already using RPA type things to automate certain things. But I really see, I'm very optimistic about the way agents will be able to use their expertise and leverage their relationships to kind of elevate their roles.
Okay, thanks for answering. Another question came in, and certainly the stock market has had certainly a little bit of a wild ride this week already. And the question was around, with the market, downturn earlier on Monday, a possible recession coming, who knows? What do you see happening with the insurance market, maybe in the next 6 to 12 months around, certainly we have a national election and a little bit of a shaky economy.
Yeah, I wish I could predict that, right? So all of the things you just said. So as I mentioned at the top, the industry is really resilient, right? And so, of course, one of the things we've seen happen in the last 12 to 18 months is significant rate increases, right? And warranted, right? It's why the DOIs have been granting them, because with inflation and with just claim costs and things that we have to deal with. It was, and the cats that are occurring, it's necessary to be able to run, to be a profitable business and serve the industry, right? Or serve our customers. So that's happened, and we're now at a stronger base. And the markets have been pretty good, so that has certainly helped the industry. But as in any time when there's a significant market downturn, carriers, put more discipline in underwriting, right? And they want to collaborate more with their agency partners to really evaluate risk, at a more precise level. I mean, not that we do always, but it's a little bit more of, a little bit more stringent appetites and a little bit more focus on really understanding the nature of the risk and then pricing it right. So this is nothing new for the industry, right? This is the cycle we go through.
Okay, sure. Let me maybe just circle back one more time on AI, and certainly, as you mentioned, a lot of interest and curiosity. I'm just wondering if you could maybe share with our listeners if you had one or two recommendations on you know how could an agency or brokerage start looking at AI today. Do you have a tip and trick or some guidance on how would you start? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I think agencies should be learning and investing in AI, right? But I think you can take a measured approach. Nobody has to panic about this, right? There's lots of opportunities out there. The good news is that with this new generative AI wave, AI has been democratized. The tools are so readily available and in the marketplace that it's easy to start experimenting and just learn the capabilities of them, right? But you have to pretty actively kind of watch what's happening in the marketplace. What are some of your peers doing? Where are they having success? Who are some of the vendors in the marketplace that are building AI or leveraging AI in their solutions or tech solutions for agencies? And again, I'm not advocating that you rush off to the new shiny object and start using it right away with a new vendor. But there's a lot of good stuff out there, right? There's a lot of interesting activity out there. So I think more than anything, it's just be curious, be in a learning mode, but be thoughtful about, where you are trying to address specific problems and opportunities at your agency, and then go looking for how might AI help us address that.
Okay, no, great advice. Let's jump into another kind of tech theme, which is, the Internet of Things. And we see all around us that we're attaching, sensors and computer devices to, I'll say just about everything, right, that the industry insures, people, vehicles, buildings, etc. I'm curious to see, get your perspective on, are we seeing success in using these to reduce risk? And, is it, and how is it changing the insurance products available out there?
Uh, yes, we're seeing success. I think it's another area where things are gradual, right? The whole idea of instrumenting the world, attaching sensors to all the things we insure, it's we've been on that path for maybe 30 plus years or so, right? Trying out different things. The challenge is like on the personal line side, it's not about really changing policies, or coverages, but just helping to manage the risk and pricing a little bit more. So we're doing a lot of discounts for smart home devices. That would be a good example. And on the personal line side, of course, you have more commonality, right? So the key to this is we need loss experience as an industry to really understand the value and how that affects our products and our pricing, right? So on the personal line side, okay, we're getting there, right? We understand the value of any type of water escape device for a home, for instance, right? And that's pretty well proven. On the commercial line side, it's a little harder because each industry segment is different. Manufacturing, retail, education, whatever. You need to look at the particular applications and then have as the data is flowing in from that wearable device on a construction worker or from an IoT sensor at a manufacturing plant or whatever it might be. As that data flows in, we can intuitively say, yeah, this is going to help us understand the risk, real-time risk better. But until we're able to get, a quantity of data and some loss experience that we can say, here's the true impact, we won't see huge changes. But I think there's a lot of progress, and I think it is the future, right? And it is giving us the ability to partner with customers, individuals and businesses, to help manage their risk better.
Okay, great. Let's go into another topic area around technology and things like cryptocurrency, blockchain, digital payments, virtual reality. We hear a lot of things around the metaverse. Any kind of perspective on how agencies should be thinking about this? Should they be concerned about any of these? Your perspective there?
So a while ago, I put together something I call the agent worry scale. And it's really kind of this spectrum of here are the technologies that, on the one end of the scale, I really need to be aware of this and visible, have visibility, and it's affecting my business. On the other end, I don't really need to. It's way out. I'm not really, don't need to spend any time on it. So honestly, I think a lot of the technologies you mentioned, blockchain, cryptocurrency, virtual reality, metaverse, they're very low on my agent worry scale, right? It's not that you ignore it, right? There are developments in the world, and other industries are being affected maybe a little bit more, but they don't have a big impact on the insurance industry right now. Now, digital payments is a little bit different, right? Because there's a lot of activity, especially driven by the pandemic, right, around digital payments. So we need to have that incorporated into our strategies. But some of the other things that we talked about earlier, the IoT and telematics in the mobility space, I mean, those are here and now, and we obviously need to be educated and aware and understanding how that's affecting our customers and our business. But some of the things you just mentioned, just watch it, watch how it develops. And it's probably going to come to the industry through vendors and other means as well. You don't have to go develop your cryptocurrency expert at your agency, for instance.
Okay, thank you. So interesting, right? I mean, I think certainly like crypto and blockchain are, one of those topics that, I read something, I think I understand more, and then I read something else, and I feel like I understand less on. But let me.
Well, I'll just say blockchain. I don't mean to downplay these. Blockchain is a hugely enormous development, and it will become a foundational part of our global tech infrastructure. But it doesn't mean that you have to be an expert as an insurance agent on that, right? It's just going to happen naturally as the internet, as the whole infrastructure evolves, and come through a lot through vendors. And we're going to use it without even knowing it, I think.
Okay. So we did get a question that came in around the metaverse, and it said, Mark, what do you see as the major downfall for metaverse?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, uh, and by the way, I'm one that like 20 years ago, there was a early version of Metaverse called Second Life, and I had my little avatar and was floating around that world and trying it out. But those were early days. So I've been watching this for a long time, and I'm a big fan of the Ready Player One. If you've seen that or read those books about what the world's going to be like in 2045, and it's all metaverse, right? So I don't think there's huge negative implications for the insurance industry in any kind of near-term scenario. If you get farther down the road, you have more and more people that maybe are kind of jacked into the metaverse, and there's some physical health issues related to that, or societal issues related to people in the metaverse versus in the real world. I guess I can see some implications, but I'll be honest, I know there's others that are thinking about it. I'm not thinking a lot about, wow, what do we need to think about for insurance for the metaverse?
Okay. No, thanks for answering. I know we've talked a lot about, some of these emerging technologies, and it certainly is a lot to kind of take in and think about. And I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit about some of the risks and concerns introduced by new technologies. And then maybe specifically, how do they affect the liability, and what kinds of new risks are being introduced, and really, what does it really mean for the industry?
Yeah, well, no surprise. I mean, the biggest risk is how we've seen cyber risk accelerate. And, as we are instrumenting the world, as we have more digital data that's, related to everything we're insuring, that exposure continues to expand exponentially. So I worry that someday we're going to see a cyber cat. We haven't really seen one yet, but, they've been more isolated, or individual companies in a lot of cases. But that's the big risk. That's a big opportunity for the industry as well, to find out the right ways to partner with industry, with government, with customers to address it. But that's the biggest risk. I do think the liability picture is getting more and more complicated because if we take the case of the mobility world, and you get to more and more, autonomous features built into cars, when accidents do occur, you know, you might say, well, it's probably not the driver that's at fault because they don't even have their hands on the wheel. They're just sitting there, right? But is it the OEM vehicle maker? Is it the software maker that created the AI? Is it the telco that transmitted the data because there was a glitch? Is it the folks that are installing the infrastructure, the roads and signage and all that, which is part of the autonomous vehicle environment? Is it a data aggregator? On and on. Like, who's really responsible for for an accident that may occur? So, and then I think that plays out in other areas as well, in the IoT areas for buildings, for properties. It feels to me like it gets more complicated, and subrogation is probably going to be kind of a crazy world a few years down the road as we get into some of liability challenges.
Okay, no, great. Another question came in, Mark, and the attendee was interested to kind of get your perspective on cyber coverage. The question is, do you envision cyber coverage becoming more similar to flood coverage, a mix between insurance and government to adequately cover? What's your kind of perspective around cyber?
Yeah, I do think that there are a variety of emerging risks that we may not be able to completely cover profitably as an industry, and I do expect more government involvement to help address some of those. If we do have a cyber cat, we're going to have that kind of a situation where we're needing some kind of government backstop, I think. And it, when you see the intersection between all this digital data and AI, you just realize that the risks are increasing significantly, right? And so as a society, as a government, as an industry, we need to determine how to govern all of this. And then when something bad does happen, how do we indemnify, right? And how do we address and fix it? And so I do think there's going to be a bigger role for government.
Okay, great. I know we're just about at the bottom of the hour. I want to see if maybe get one quick question in. And it's almost kind of we've talked so much about new technologies, but embedded insurance, even though the concepts have been around for a while, can you just maybe share a quick perspective on that?
Yeah, I think embedded insurance, these days it mostly gets discussed in the context of the traditional embedded insurance like travel insurance and warranty, or personal auto. Hey, we're going to do this at the dealership and embed it right with the new car. However, there's applications across all kinds of lines of business for embedded, right? And this, by the way, this doesn't mean that agents aren't involved. But I see embedded insurance, and by the way, parametric insurance, as actually expanding the types of coverages that we're going to be addressing, right? There's a lot of gaps in coverage in the world, and so I think it's really going to help to grow the industry in many ways.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's hard to believe that we are out of time. The 30 minutes really did fly by today. Thanks everyone for joining for our August Coffee Talk. Just a reminder, if you haven't registered for AppliedNet 2024, taking place September 9th through the 12th, please be sure to. I know, Mark, you will be there. I believe you're even teaching a class, so any of our attendees today will get the chance to meet Mark in person if you're attending AppliedNet. But I'd like to give you a huge thanks to our speaker, Mark Brading, today for joining us for the August Coffee Talk. Be sure to check out the schedule for our September the Coffee Talk, as well as for the rest of the year. And just kind of a reminder, at the end of the session, there will be a survey. We would ask you to complete that. We value your feedback on how we can continue to make these even more valuable. So Mark, thanks again. It was great to see you, and we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Brian, and we'll see you all in Nashville.
All right, take care.